Welcome back to the Command Stack. I'm John, and joining me today we have...
I'm Ken.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm Ryan.
Yep, and this is our first episode back post-Worlds 2023, so we're all pretty excited to be here. How are you guys doing?
I'm tired, John. Worlds was a lot of work.
He's tired. I'm tired. It's a good tired. So
yeah, just trying to get back into the situation. My basement's starting to not look like it was bombed, so that's some pretty big improvement for me.
That's good. Mine is
Flames of War now.
So switching the game up. Yeah, no. It still looks like a mess, and my wife's on me like, "When are you gonna clean this?" I'm like, "I am. I'm actively cleaning it every time I'm in the basement. It's just that much of a mess." Okay, so back to Armada though. We were really excited to be able to be at Worlds. All of us were there in some way, shape, or capacity, or multiple capacities, doing the streaming, playing the game. Hanging out. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to be just talking briefly about the event and events that were going on. But first, we're going to kick it over to Garrett for some Armada news, because there was a lot to talk about in that regard.
Yeah, listen, everybody. We have actual hard copy news. That was announced at Adepticon. Heard first on Ion Radio's interview, and then we got the full details later on that day at AMG panel. So, obviously, if you haven't heard, you're living under a rock, but Rapid Reinforcements 2 is confirmed. And we have four cards potential. The first one, totally spoiled. It's been the talk of the town, Governor Price. She's coming back with a vengeance. A lot more thematic, in my opinion, to her role in Rebels, to where you can change a die at the cost of losing a shield from the whole zone you're attacking from. And she's 7 points. I think she's pretty well balanced. But the Onager is a question. But I always like to say, like, we don't have all the information yet. I don't know what they have planned in addition to maybe balance that Onager idea out before we all go and try to bring our pitchforks. But the other three cards, we saw a glimpse of a Rebel Gauntlet. So you're going to need that Chimera expansion to get your two gauntlets that were originally Empire. So now you can run it as a Rebel one. Obviously, it's Mandalorian fever at Lucasfilm, and AMG is definitely taking advantage of that. And the third card is a
why do you need the Chimera expansion? Is that where the gauntlet was?
Yeah, so the only way to get Gauntlet fighters is two of them came in the Chimera expansion. They don't come in the squad pack 1 or 2 for the Empire.
That is correct.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so those all of a sudden became real hot commodities. So go ahead and pick up some Chimeras before they're out of stock.
Yeah,
if you see one at your local game store,
pick it up. Yeah.
And in the past, people would just sell them because they're not very good. So they would buy a Chimera pack and then put up on like eBay the Gauntlet fighters. I have been one of those people that purchases them, so I should be good. I'll still need to paint them and see what the Rebel one looks like so I can paint it to match. So
so it'll be cool what they add. I know the Rebels already have a lot of aces with like all bases covered of different abilities, so I'll be curious. I think it's Escort and Assault, but we can't quite make the words out. And then there's a 29-point Republic Admiral. I guess it could not be Republic, but it's pretty obvious. It's got a clone trooper on it. So, and it's a 501st clone trooper. We don't know for sure if it's Anakin, but if I had to bet, $1 million, I'd bet $1 million it was Anakin.
Watch it be a rebellion version of Ahsoka, just to throw us off.
Yeah, right. I mean, just to totally throw it off. Or like Captain
Order
Rex
66, use an Imperial Admiral instead.
Yeah. Like Screed is your commander now. Captain Nita from Legends.
Right.
And then and then we don't have a card, but the background art at the panel was a Techno Union member in a bell below. Everyone thinks it's Wat Tambor, but it might not be Wat Tambor. There is other of those species in the CIS. So I'm gonna say maybe it's Cool Tesca. And Cool Tesca is like this Mandalorian, or not Mandalorian, I'm sorry, he's a bounty hunting, genetically modified they already look genetically modified with their, you know, like techno union or whatever. So
This is a deep dive.
it's a deep dive, right? So it might be, you know, a different character. So, and then, but that's all we know. We don't know if there's more. That's the details we have.
But I think, like, you know, even though, you know, it looks like 4 cards are coming out, like that's enough to change the meta, you know, like.
Yeah. Well, the
know,
Governor Price, you know, I mean, that creates a myriad of new, really competitive Imperial fleets, right? Especially your favorite, your Super Star Destroyer is going to benefit greatly from that.
So yeah, so everyone's talking about that as like the optimum build, and that might be the case for sure. It's too early to tell. I think with any of these new releases, I think like everyone's got it figured out in 5 minutes, right? But
Yeah.
you just have to take time. You have to test it. You have to fly it out. I like the overload pulse on a Raider with Price on there, and
Yes.
get, you know, get that crit off at long range, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. But I think with the 4 cards, like, it's enough to upend, you know, the game. You know, Anakin in you know, in his little Jedi fighter, like single-handedly made Republic viable.
Yeah,
That's right. I like
completely different.
expansions. So, yeah, I like expansions where it's, you know, they release something and it's something you want to use immediately, not something that you just want to throw in the back of your box along with old boy Constantine and then move on with your life. So Price is exciting because everyone's going to use Price. It's new. And I hope the Gauntlet's exciting. And I hope that the Republic Admiral, who's probably Anakin's, super exciting, like a bunch of dice rerolls or something. But I mean, or that CIS fighter makes it unlocks some sort of magical CIS build with fighters that makes them super good.
I think what will be interesting is if the Gauntlet fighter, it's probably going to be something from Rebels. Let's just be honest. So
For sure.
would you then be moving into like a very thematic, like you have Kanan in his Hawk, and then you have the Gauntlet fighter for like a lot of like assault
yeah, and then
keywords,
slap
like
on Captain Rex.
Exactly. So are we going to see like the clone crew coming around this Gauntlet fighter and people like choosing to run like a Rebels themed squadron ball and it actually be good?
Right, because AMG loves their thematic storytelling scenario stuff. So my bets are yes. Along with R2, we had exciting words said. If you have not went back and watched Ion Radio's recording of the panel, do so. But you know, we heard a lot of interesting things about manufacturing, possible new locations to make a more secure supply line for expansions. So stuff like that leads me to believe that there's exciting stuff to come in the future. And then, of course, there was no ships teased for R2. And if there's no ships in R2, could that mean, you know, speculating possible new plastic? Right. So very exciting. And then we got a store kit announced, one for Legion, X-Wing, and Armada. So obviously I only care about Armada. But the kit, it's a alt art card kit. It's really affordable for stores to order. I think a Canada price is like $35. I think these are like $30 in the United States. And they include alt arts. And I'm not 100% sure how the World's Invite will work. But the big draw to this is that these store kits include a World's Invite. I'm sure those have to be verified by the store. And probably not every store can get it potentially based on numbers, products sold, but we'll have to see. It's really early days. I expect we'll know probably everything about them by May 4th, because that's when technically the new season begins for the fight to Worlds 2024. So yes, there is going to be Star Wars Armada Worlds 2024 at Adepticon, and then these store kits provide Worlds invites, and then there's also going to be regional premiere invites, probably at the big things like Gen Con, and you know, Nova stuff, like just the big draws where you have 50 plus players at a time. But the store kits also include alt arts. Sorry, I'll finish this real fast. The alt arts, and so the alt arts include admirals of Leia Organa, Grand Admiral Thrawn, General Grievous, and Luminara. That's exciting, right? Because that's our first official alt art of Clone Wars characters. It's been a long wait, and I'm excited to have alt arts of these new factions. That's a big deal. Which means, and they're new art assets. If you look at these arts on these cards, there's stuff I haven't seen before, which is really interesting. And then there's going to be a Republic Venator or Republic Victory alt art card, and then a Venator 2 alt art card. And these are tarot size alt art cards, which is everyone's landscape favorite version of these cards. Big art, big new art. And then the World's Invite is going to be a giant Executor 2 ship card.
On the back of it.
On the back of it, right. And then the other side, I think it has Leia and like a World's Invite inside a Phoenix symbol or something. But super cool. And we wanted to say, if you have a planned event where you're going to have one of these store kits with the World's Invites, let us know, send us your information, and we'll plug your event at your store so that as many people as possible can drive out to these things. Let me tell you, here in Kentucky, we'll do a local event, and people will drive here for 4 hours from like Dayton and Columbus. People drive to come out and play these games. So if you're worried about filling seats, there's people around that will come if they know that it exists. But yeah, I'm sorry, Ryan, what did you want to say?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to talk about store champs in the larger context of, like, it's just really cool that they're coming back. I don't think we've had them, I mean, since 2018, maybe
something around that point,
because we had regionals for a little bit, but store champs is like the best thing that they can do to grow the game. I think that was my first tournament, was the second day of me ever playing Armada, was a store championship, and I think it's just a massive reinvestment in the game of, like, I guess maybe conceptually thinking about how we're going to grow the game, and yes. I think it's great.
It's official. It gets people out. People love alt arts. It's everyone's favorite, like, promo. It's that cool art. It's your ship. It's something you can use in the game. But yeah, you're right. It's super exciting, and it lets people know that there's life. I know people are always concerned, like, oh, I'm investing too much in a game. It's not going much, but it's full. We're back. So get out and get playing.
I also think that the healthiest point of the game was when we had store tournaments. And it's just the way that store tournaments push the people to play. Going to your local store or town hopping to the next local store, it's just a great way to meet new people in the community. And then you, like, as your store, because everyone at your local store that you play at, it's like the same group of people and your friends, and then you have someone that comes in and travels, and now you have a guest that you can welcome into your store, and that's where the friendly really comes into effect for it. Like, I think it just helps build that network of community very, very well.
Yes. And speaking of events, we've got the Richmond Open coming up in May 5th through 7th. That takes Richmond, Virginia, in case it was unclear. Go ahead and get that signed up. They've got a really exciting lineup of side games, Sector Fleet to play, and of course the main Armada tournament. There'll be some great prizes there, some great acrylics. But then we're waiting on word if they're also going to have one of those, like, regional kits or even a store kit for that World's Invite. They don't know yet. They are trying to find out because it's right on that cusp, May 5th through 7th. So I think it's worth signing up if you're in the area. First off, you're going to have fun. It's going to be excellent practice because there's a lot of really good players in the Northern Virginia Armada area. So, and it's open to new players too, right? It's not an invite only thing. It's just sign up, come and play, and enjoy yourself.
Here, did you say when that was?
May 5th through 7th. Yeah.
And the new World season, as announced, starts on May the 4th, which is a very appropriate day for it to start on.
So they might have the new rapid reinforcements too. If it comes out by that time, that might be legal for the rest of the
well, I don't know. Like, yeah, they said summer, right? So summer can mean anywhere from May to August. So
yeah. So when we were speaking with Will on the channel, which Again, huge shout out to Atomic Mass Games and Will Schick for letting him be on the channel and talking to us live. That was actually really great. But we were talking about rapid reinforcements too, and his suggestion was spring, summer, and kind of gave the indication it'd be like the May-June timeline as opposed to the August-September timeline. They didn't say that, but that was kind of what I was taking from what he was, implying. With the release for rapid reinforcements too. So if I'm going to guess, we may not see it right at May the 4th, but we might see it a little bit later on. But May 4th would be an ideal time to drop it, just because then you can start the whole new season with, whether it's 4 or maybe it is like 10 cards, but because they're not shipped cards, they're looking that as being the smaller version of rapid reinforcements too. We don't know.
Right.
It's all speculation at this point. But to some of the points you guys have already been making, one of the things when you go back and listen to what Will was saying, that in terms of how they develop their stuff, they want to add new cards that create value to the game and can potentially find, okay, we know this is overpowered, but maybe this is a way to potentially counter it. At least that's what I was getting out of what he was talking about. So I think rapid reinforcements too is kind of their view of, these are things we know are issues or maybe are perceived in a particular way in the Armada general meta. And if we can pull a couple new cards to kind of flip that on its head a little bit, it's going to be more healthy for the game, and it's going to be new stuff that people want to play right away. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities. I think there's going to be some cool interactions that we haven't even thought about yet. I think a lot of it's just as soon as we see what the new cards are going to bring. So there's that. With the story invites, it feeds into one of the other things that Will was saying, where when you look at all the players of Armada that were at AdeptiCon, this is like your top tournament players, which does not account for the vast majority of Armada players. Most of them are on their kitchen tables, playing at home. And I think getting the store invites for the championship kits are going to bring some of these kitchen table players to stores. And maybe you're going to have a percentage of them at the next Worlds, which is really going to open up some possibilities, because those that are at their kitchen tables, there might be a brilliant strategist somewhere that's never been to a mainline event that's going to come in and surprise us all with something with Director Izard and Constantine. But
it all complements each other, the competitive tournament scene with having a Worlds and like a hierarchy, will also complements the the more casual scene, and there's the drive to produce more product and all this stuff. So it all kind of it complements each other and works together, and store champs is kind of like where that all can come together. And it's just great.
Yep.
No, completely agree. And I'll just take this opportunity again to thank Will Schick for being on the channel during the stream. And I think we should also give props to Courtney Downing, who did the award ceremony at the end of Adepticon, and to Ann Richmond, who kind of was the behind the scenes person that made it all happen for us. So definitely big shout out to all three of them from Atomic Mass Games. They were definitely instrumental in making our streams and Worlds in general be outstanding.
Yes, absolutely agree. Big thank you. But yeah, so that's all I have for news. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about?
Let me throw another one out there. This is another. It's like a tournament open, the Stampede City Open. It's up in Calgary, June 10th and 11th. And I know that there are tickets for sale, and it's going to be another giant Star Wars and Marvel open tournament, essentially. So stay tuned to the community channel, and we'll have some more information on that. But I do know that if you're looking to get $5 Canadian off, you can use the discount code Ion Radio SCO 2023 and when you register. So there you go. You heard it from here first.
Awesome. Well, John, you want to lead us into the great data data analysis here?
Sure. So Worlds, we had first off, we had a last chance qualifier for people to get into Worlds proper. And then Worlds itself was 3 total days. The first day we had around 80 players. And then day 2, we had a top 26 cut after 4 rounds of Swiss. And day 2 then was also 4 rounds of Swiss that then cut to the top 8 players. And those top 8 players played on day 3, 3 rounds to decide who was going to be the reigning Armada World Champion. So that is kind of the format for the tournament. There were other side events going on too, so we'll touch base on that later on. But for us, I think we just decided we wanted to talk about the middle day primarily, day 2. And the fleet breakdowns of what made that top 26 cut.
Yes. All right. Well, I'll start. Okay. So
you gathered all the information. You
okay,
know it the
we'll,
best.
We'll do the broad overview here. Okay.
Yeah.
So Empire had 10 players. This is the top 26. Empire had 10. Rebels had 8. CIS was 5. And the Republic was 3. And then I went through here and I broke down admirals and then broad fleet type. But for the Rebels, we had 2 Akbars, a Riken, 1 Radis, 2 Krakens, and 2 Agates. Really diverse set of admirals, right?
Yeah.
And then for the Empire, we had Moff Jared, we had 2 Jerrys, 1 Mahdi, 4 Ramadis, and then 2 Sloans, which is interesting. And then 1 Ozzel. So another, multiple types of Ramadi's the heaviest type in the entire field. He's the only one who had more than 3. And then to match it, the Gyar only had 1 admiral make day 2, and that was Bail Organa. All 3 fleets were based around him. And then the CIS was Martuk, Grievous, Dooku, and 2 TF-1726, which I think is also pretty interesting. There's no one overarching 1 admiral to rule them all here, which as far as balance goes, that's pretty healthy.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Obviously in the Empire, just to go through here, Jerry had an Onager build, and then an ISD-2 with a Raider and a Squad Ball was the other fleet. Mahdi was a boarding troopers Quasar, Vic-2 and Imp-2, which is pretty cool. No squad.
Clearly, they listened to Command Stack because they brought boarding troopers.
Yeah, that was
on a Quasar with no squadrons. So.
Yeah, amazing. Actually amazing. Ramadi, of course, there was a double Onager, an Onager plus Dictor, and then another double Onager. And then there was 1 ISD-1 Dictor Ramadi fleet. And then the Sloan, of course, was your classic Raider, Quasar, Architans, Squad Ball, and that was both of them.
Yeah, that's referred to as German Sloan.
Yeah, and they were German.
Yeah, who would have thought?
And then, of course, Ozzel was another Onager. So heavy Onager, but every other ship represented there, including the Gladiator was in one of these. So I think every Imperial ship was used that they can field. I can't think of one that was not used. Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool.
In this list, it's the Super Star Destroyer, but those were present.
That's
day
true.
1.
That's true. They were present though.
We tried.
Overall.
Yeah.
But of course, the Rebels, right? Akbar was an assault frigate with the Giga Drill, classic add red dice plus some more red dice, and then CR90s. And then there was an MC30 with CR90s, no squad Akbar list. Riken was the CR90 swarm. Kraken was a CR90 swarm, and then an MC30 with some CR90s. And then Radis was a Liberty drop from a CR90. And then Agate, there was a Farmhawk Agate list, and then there was an assault frigate Squad Ball 134 with a Yavaris Nebi as an Agate. So CR90s almost present in every list except for the Farmhawk. And then for the Republic, Venator, Pelta, Consular, with the squad ball, another Venator Pelta Concert squad ball, and then those were both based around their Y wings, and then the third list was 2 spat Venators. For
I want to throw something
Yes.
else in there.
Yeah.
Important about those 2 Bale lists with the Venator, Pelta, Counselor, they were both playing Mercy Mission.
I know one was. I think the other one might not have had it. I'd have to
Okay.
go back and look though. You could be right. For the CIS, Dooku was a Pat's Fist Munificent hard cells with the 4 vultures. Martuk was a no squad Pat's Fist, 2 Moonies and a hard cell. Grievous was 2 Moonies, Pat Fist, and squad ball. I think it was like an 87-point squad ball. And then TF, and that was the only like real CIS squad ball on day 2. And then the 2 TF fleets are the, one was a Providence Gozer, and then 2 Moonies, and then the other one was another Pat's Fist, Hard Cell, and the Gazantes. So the highest success rated fleets here all had large squad balls that won day 2 that went to go in the top 8. So clearly bringing 129, 134 points of squadrons was key to, I would say, success at this tournament. If you ran shipless, it was possible, but you were going to struggle against those big squad balls because almost every Rebel fleet had 134. Empire had at least escorts. Your mid-range balls, and then the successful Republic fleets had, your big Anakin kickback axe Y-wing swarms. What do you guys think? Anything interesting point coming out of this?
Quick check of the 3 Bale lists, 2 did have Mercy missions.
Okay.
The one that did not was one of the spat fleets. So one of the spat fleets had Mercy mission, the other one did not. And then the other one that didn't have any spats at all also had Mercy mission. So it was Mercy mission was there in 67% of the Republic fleets.
Yeah, if you're sleeping at that, it's 40 points. If you're flying that fleet, if you get that to the other player's deployment zone and it doesn't get destroyed, it's 40 points to you. So something to think about.
Yeah, it actually is very, very important and was used successfully, and something to keep an eye out because all these games are really, really close. I think the winner of day 3 only scored 20 points, I believe, tournament points, which is not a lot when you really think about how many tournament points that is. And so that's a lot of like very close matches that are like 5 to 6. And if you're able to get Mercy mission across the board and score it, that would flip a table like results in your favor, which when most people are only scoring 5s or 6s or maybe a 7-4, being able to flip that could be the difference between winning a tournament and losing a tournament.
Yeah, I'd say one interesting fact from the last day of the tournament was both the times that we watched the Republic fleet fly, the games didn't go long enough for that consular to get to the deployment zone. Each game ended at round 4.
Yeah.
Which would have made the games would have been totally different had they finished it out. Those 40 points would have made a huge tournament point difference.
Yes, they would have. Do we want to just choose one faction and focus on our conversation on that, and then jump between them, or just go haphazard?
I don't know.
I want to point out one other thing, just kind of globally. I think it's really cool that Separatists had some diversity in the top 26 in terms of their commanders. Coming in, I think we joked that there's going to be 20 CIS and 19 of them are going to be Martuk.
Yeah.
I got Martuk in our draft, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But we had TF came back, two TFs in the top 26, which is cool. TF was, we're talking about new cars coming out, and when TF came out, that was the new hotness, and people were abusing TF lists and everything, and he kind of went away. But it's nice to see them doing well. And then James Mundo, who I met there, he was flying Grievous, and he's a top Australian player, and that was really cool to see him do well. And you kind of look how he built his list, and you can see, oh, okay, Grievous would do well in that type of list. And of course there was a Martuk player as well, and a Dooku player by Damon, and so it was just nice to see 4 different admirals in CIS, which is something in the top 26, which is something I could not have predicted, not expecting at all.
Yeah. Anybody surprised that Bail Organa swept it? Yeah, he's so
No,
good.
not at all.
So good.
I think when you look at your admirals, the Bale is kind of the one that's, I don't want to say he's the easy one to play because he's not. There's a lot of thinking about it. But what he does afford you is the opportunity to kind of get a couple extra dials and limit some of your choices while you're thinking over a 3-day tournament. So that, all right, you just need to do all navs and let's get some engineering and some squadrons or maybe some confires or whatnot. But it simplifies a certain part of your play, which I think is why Bale did very successfully. I know that there was a Luminara fleet in there. I think there was a Plo Koon one as well, wasn't
day
there?
one.
In day one,
So there was some opportunities there. I think I'm a little sad that I did not see Yularen, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, onagers. So if you didn't know, so the way the tournament ended, day 3, it was an onager dictor versus a double onager top table, and they mutually tabled each other, which means that the second player gets a 6-5, and no tournament point, no victory points are counted. It's just mutually tabling, 6-5 to the second player.
Yeah.
And so that decided that he was going to win the tournament. Worlds, I should say. So congrats to James from the UK. So an onager dictor with Ramadi was the world championship fleet. And then the Republic came second. And then the double onager that got mutually tabled came third. So, and then I want to say the Rebels got fourth with Akbar.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So I don't know. So onager Ramadi, as kind of expected, took it. What do you guys think? Did you guys? I mean, was that your guys' prediction too?
Well, I last minute predicted our last episode that I could see that CIS could make a deep run just because of ease of play. But that was not the case because while I do think those fleets ease of play because it cuts down like the mental ability of like having to like make hard choices, it appears that other lists that players have practiced and can make hard choices advance better than them. So that was my prediction. I knew that the onagers were going to be very good. Mainly, like if you watch the cycle of like what's good, what's not good, and it go up and down. Like we had a huge spike up at the beginning. Onagers overpower. We figured out how to fight them, and then onagers go down, and then something else rises up. Oh, Starhawks out of nowhere. Who would have guessed? And then like that disappears. Like it's a constant cycle. So like I was betting on onagers were going to be good again. That's why I brought a double onager list.
Yeah.
So that part doesn't necessarily surprise me, but like how good they actually did across the board, regardless of what type of fleet they were part of, that's actually what surprises me because we have like double onagers with an an onager list with MSU that made the day. We had onagers with dictors that made it. We have double onagers that made it. Like we have lots of different forms of the onager, single, double that made it, and they're all good. And that's the part that surprises me, I think.
Yes. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Any other thoughts, Ryan?
I was wrong. I thought it was going to be CIS. I thought they had the best ships in the game, and none of them got in the top 8.
Yeah.
They did well to get in the top 26, and so I was definitely wrong there. Onagers, one of the best ships in the game, and it did well. So, and it's funny, like we talked about Jason Hughley, who got third in this. We've talked about his double onager fleet. I interviewed him, and we talked about him with the past tournament, and he brought the exact same list, right? So it's not, nothing was surprising in terms of them doing well, and you had the other fleets that in there got in the top 8 around the onagers were kind of MSU-y, in a sense with Republic as well. So yeah, Onager's a good ship.
Yeah.
Just
And Ramadi's probably a tad too cheap. So
I was just gonna talk about him. So what's interesting in why I went Ramadi over Ozzel, is just because Ramadi, like you think about his power being, oh, I get to add a dice if I'm obstructed. And I don't necessarily think that's how I thought about him as a commander. What I mainly saw was I can't be obstructed. And I actually think that's the more important part of his ability than getting the dice added. Because when you're just playing the game, like you typically as a player try to make yourself obstructed because that's just how our brains have been working for years with the game. And Ramadi means you have to, as the opponent, fly differently, so you can't like take cover. And when you're doing things like salvo and things like that, like as Republic, or playing a person that's like either the Republic or CIS, and they have like those high salvo fleets, like munis launching 2 red dice across the map at you. If I could obstruct that shot so their salvo is only 1 dice, that's huge. But that doesn't work against Ramadi. And like most of the onagers having like a salvo of like a red dice, blue dice, black dice added, and depending on what you have. But like not being obstructed for even those salvo attacks is huge, like when you think about how much damage output you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then for the rebellion, I the list, like the CR90 swarms, looking at how the days went, it was like they didn't have enough firepower to finish off the beefier ISDs or even the Republic ships, the Venator. Of course, I think we were talking about the Grievous list. I think there was a decision made by him. I think he chose advanced gunnery into Akbar, which I heard him talking about at the tournament. And I think that really changed how the outcome of the CIS, because I think had he not done that, he might have made it into day 2. Because advanced gunnery into Akbar is rough.
As in the Giga Drill?
Yeah, into Adam's assault frigate. So, but I mean that's why I like the top 26 data sheet, because all these games are really matchup dependent. And if you look at a T4 and go through them, there were so many 6-5, 7-4s. Like everything was so close. So anybody could have made it into day 2 easily. Well, not easily, but everyone had the potential equally, I think.
Things could easily swap around.
Yeah, but it just dice rolls and stuff have a huge impact. But yeah, the CR90 swarms, and I think I didn't get to watch a whole lot of them at the beginning of the day, because that's when they want to like really build their points up. Because once they get their their 7, their 8, or their 9, they just want to sit back and then take it easy and not lose any ships. Maybe snipe another 6-5, conserve your tournament points, which works really well for single elimination, right? As the years pass. But here, you got to have 7s and 8s to win, because it's Swiss. So that's why I really liked the Patrick's Tiger Cruise, the Radis drop, because that had drop that down, and it's a lot of damage with Mon Carin.
Yes it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of, but yeah, I don't know. But
I think it's interesting that we see so many of the different Rebel commanders here, but they're all the Rebel commanders that we kind of expected to be here. Like whenever you talk about the Rebels, I usually am like, usually Agate's going to be the most that you see. Because it's kind of just like a default cheap, it gives your flagship something. And then all the other ones are right there. Like if you were to name like what are the good Rebel admirals, they would be Akbar, Agate, Riken, Kraken, and that's who we see, Radis. Some people throw Radis in there or not, just because some Radis builds aren't as good as others. The one that we saw here was extremely good. And so like those are your big top players, and you didn't see anyone that was outside of the big players in Rebels commander wise make it through.
Right, the most viable
correct
admirals.
And it's the same thing with the Empire, the list that got in there. These are all the players that I kind of expected. You know, you got Jerry because he's great at maneuvering. You got Madi because it's harder to kill things that are already hard to kill. Ramadi because he's almost default, and then
Yeah.
Sloan, 2 German Sloans. Who would have thought Worlds were going to see German Sloans, and then Ozzel, who I picked as my top Imperial commander, and then I didn't even play him myself. From our predictions that we made last time. So
Yeah,
like,
I predicted Radis top 8, so I got one thing right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other big thoughts or ideas that you guys have from any of these lists?
Yeah. Bring your squadrons.
Yeah, definitely.
Bring your 134 squad ball, or bring a really competent 4 ace delay list.
Yeah.
Squadrons are definitely a big part of Worlds, and I think one of the things that I really observed through most of it, and Garrett, you touched on this a little bit, that not all games got all 6 rounds in. I almost felt like in some cases an hour went through of the time, and they were just getting through turn 1.
Yeah, well, that's what did happen. So, yeah.
It was fascinating for me to see the level of care and effort put into making sure things were deployed in a particular way to best combat their opponent. So I think there was a combination of, you have a lot of squads that just by their very nature take longer to play, but it was also the level of thought put into each activation, and there was top players. I mean, this is what we saw, and it's just fascinating to be able to get up close to see it again. And I think the big thing that I'm going to take away from Worlds isn't so much the fleets, but how many people really enjoyed being able to play at a massive event like this in person again. And I think that was by far the biggest things. All the plastic spaceships on the tables and the number of people walking by that stopped and were taking pictures and watching. And I'm not talking Armada fans. I'm just talking about people that were at AdeptiCon. And it's a huge game with a lot of presence. And I think that's the one big takeaway that I have for Armada.
Yeah, especially when we had Super Star Destroyers on the tables. Big crowds would come by.
You just stole what I was going to say. Yeah, that's
so
exactly
sorry.
what I said. And
I'll take it back.
Right on the edge of like the dealer hall / the AMG space worked out really well for us, especially like I always say this, like especially like in a local store, like if you can get a table near the front of the store and just play Armada, you're gonna get someone, at least one person, probably upwards to 5 people, to stop and ask you what you're playing and where they can get it, because the game on the table pretty much sells itself. Like if you're anything in the nerdum whole sphere, sci-fi type stuff, when you see like the ships like a Providence or a Starhawk that's huge, a Super Star Destroyer, a Star Destroyer in general, sitting on the table, or you look across the table and someone has like an entire swarm of CR90s, because everyone knows what that ship looks like from, A New Hope. Everyone loves that ship. Like just to see that on the table pretty much sells itself. So I was super excited to have like the tables right there near the dealer hall of people walking back and forth and stopping and looking at what was going on.
Yeah. Before I lose my thought, I was going to say strategic squadrons. The Lambda and the VCX were used a lot. And the Republic and CIS desperately needs strategic to be able to move those objective tokens around. I said there was one match between a double onager and Nick's Venators, Jason's onagers, and it was planetary ion cannon, and Jason had a Lambda, and the Republic doesn't have anything. So had he been able to move those ion cannons around, it would have made a pretty big difference. Speaking of dealer hall, I wanted to say, fun fact, at Star Wars Celebration, they had a Asmodee booth that I saw pictures of, and the Armada stock was like getting wiped out, which was pretty cool to see on the shelf.
Yeah,
they had like corsets and stuff.
If you're a Star Wars fan, having the this huge Star Destroyer is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, and the Venators and stuff, hot sellers. So I wish I would have. I saw that picture on Twitter and then I could never find it again. I was like, oh, I should have saved that. It was dumb. But yeah. So I don't know, squadrons. Everybody learn your squadron game. Super important. And if you're not gonna, and if you are just dead set against squadrons, fly CIS.
I want to say one thing, just kind of my general impressions for the top 26 and the top 8, and what, just kind of an observation I got is a lot of the players have one or two things that are not typical, that are not, something you see in every list, not considered meta. My examples of this is like Colin had Dodana's Pride in his list, which is a crazy call, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You never see Dodana's Pride, but he got 9th with that. It's incredible. You saw Black Admiral with Sabine Wren and Ezra.
Martin.
Matt and a couple people brought Ezra. Titus was around to do his Titus kind of shenanigans and to get choked out by Vader. Captain Rex again with Colin and his fleet. And so like what I'm trying to say is that, there's just some really cool cards on the margins that people have found real uses for. And I just want to encourage people to experiment. Mine is always Han Solo. I always will. That's my margin card that I play with, right? But it's also like Overload Pulse. So just look at the cards that you can use. There's so many out there, and just experiment, especially squadrons. Like there's so many cool squadrons. We saw, this tournament I feel like was kind of the rise of like the Hondo Mauler combination with like FCT, and it's just like devastating. So it's just like those cool little combos are nice to see.
Yeah. We've been preaching boarding troopers since this podcast started, and you're starting to see a lot more of it. People are at least aware of it. Like after a 1.5 and Avenger got nerfed to oblivion, you haven't really seen boarding troopers. But we had a boarding trooper Quasar.
Yeah.
Which is
Quasar Fire 2.
Which is crazy. That's crazy. And like talking to the people that played against it, they're like, there's so many big ships that are coming at me. Like, I don't have enough fire to concentrate down the Quasar. Like, when you have, like, all these big Imperial triangles coming at you, like, and you, like, do a threat assessment, and you're like, probably need to try to kill that. And then the Quasar just comes dancing speed 3 in to toss all your tokens.
I think this highlights, though, all the different ways people play throughout the world. I mean, and when you really look at how Worlds at Adepticon worked out, we had groups of people from every corner of the planet that came to Schaumburg to play Armada, and to see all those different thought processes actually come to fruition on the table, I think was probably the most interesting part of all of it, because usually you don't see that, right? At least not on the table. And here we had people from Spain and people from Australia and people from Poland, and the German and UK guys were there, not to mention everyone here locally in the US. So it's just seeing that combination of how everyone looks at the game differently is why I think we saw so much of that. And I think it's great that we had, in the case of Worlds, true worldwide representation.
Yeah, I think Brian had a funny point about the French. They're like both the French fleets were both ISDs, and they didn't take onagers, which is interesting. In the top 26.
So if what was it, the ISD 1?
Yeah, and an ISD 2. Yeah.
If you're flying, the only people who flew ISD 1s were like, who did well with them were like the French. So, don't fly an ISD 1 unless you're French. So
I mean, not just that. It's not like anyone else was flying ISD 1s. When was the last time you saw an ISD 1 at the table? Because I know when the last time I saw an ISD 1 was at the table, and that was pre relay nerf and pre flotilla nerf was the last time I saw an ISD 1 on the table.
Yeah,
I flew one at Worlds and it didn't do it did fine. It's not why I didn't, not why I got one.
That's because you're not French, right?
It's not. See, yeah, we, yeah.
Yeah, but so I actually played one of the ISD Frenchmen, and they have the ISD set up as like a salvo ship, and the salvo on in ISD-1 is 1 red and 2 blue, so you throw flat guns on it, and at long range you're throwing 3 dice.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good, let me tell you. Yeah, so it's just one of those things that I hadn't considered. I think I did my review of my games, and I was talking about how almost every match I was thinking to myself like, oh, that's actually a really cool build, and that the ISD one was actually one of those lists that, you know, it just kind of light bulbs go off. So speaking of light bulbs, I want to throw this out here and discuss it. Before this tournament, I did not really consider grit at all. Like, you know, it's just one of those things that a squadron may or may have, and I might consider it later on. But like, I saw players intentionally bringing squadrons with grit. And I saw grit used in almost every single one of my games by either myself or my opponent. Like intentionally using grit to be able to remaneuver squadrons. And it kind of was like one of those light bulb moments for me that I need to take grit more seriously. And like now when I go to build like an effective squad ball, I'm actually going to be looking for grit, because sometimes like a squadron that needed to move just slightly to be able to change the game, if they had grit, it would be able to happen. Like in the last match I had on day 1, Vader was pinned down. Vader TIE Defender doesn't have grit compared to Merrick Steel that does have grit, but Vader has Rogue. So I was able to pin down Vader with 1 squadron because mine had grit, so I could move from the squadron that was locking me down to then lock down Vader. And because of that, Vader then couldn't make an attack run on my Onager, which would have killed it. I had 1 health, no shields. And that would have been a mutual tabling. Like, grit's really, really important, and it hadn't ever really occurred to me how important it was. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on grit or not, but that's just something that I made an observation across. And if you look at most of these lists, a lot of the list contain squadrons that have grit.
Grit, or a squadron that can move, cloak or after an attack or whatever.
Correct.
John, you know who's got grit?
Who?
Han Solo's got grit. Han Solo sure does.
Oh my
So it
gosh,
didn't
hold
surprise
on.
Me. Did not surprise me to see grit do well. I know
What?
the power of grit.
Let me check. I haven't looked at Han Solo in so long. I believe you, but I'm just going to look at the card.
Got it memorized.
I'm with you, Ryan. Han Solo. You got to bring Han Solo if you got a rebel list, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great crimes of this world was that there was no Han Solo.
He does, man. That actually, hold on. But Lando has grit too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Lando's a problem. Watching Lando nuke
Everything.
flotilla after flotilla in this on like round 1, I was like,
Lando needs to go up.
Yeah, he does.
go up or lose something
Grit.
in his
Just lose
car.
grit. Like,
one of those abilities.
Like to John's point, losing grit on Lando would be great. So, yeah, the fact that there's no Han Solo, and I was probably the only person who was even going to think about bringing him, and I opted to go a different route, was sad. But no one wants to hear about that. No one wants to hear about Han. So,
so also, if Han ever gets a kill, then you have to do that solo dance from that Xbox game, right?
It's Han Solo. Han Solo.
Yeah, that's right.
this is a podcast. This is an audio medium. So if you didn't see John's dance, go to YouTube and check it out.
Yeah.
It's probably not worth your time.
I think it was. No, but like grits, it's just one of those weird things. Like, you know, I've played Armada for a long time, and I think I don't really necessarily consider grit because grit was out before the Intel nerf, you know?
Yeah.
And so for those of you that aren't aware, Intel used to just allow you to be like, any squadron that around you can basically just ignore. And it was super powerful because you could bring these bomber lists that even if you had the other player have like 134 points worth of anti-squadrons fighters, you could just ignore them and shoot right through them, move right past them. And there was no way to pin squadrons. So Intel got changed to, instead of make squadrons around you heavy at distance 1 to make friendly squadrons around you gain grit. And for the most part, people just took that and just boop, shelved it. And because grit was already out, and why would you ever use grit when you could just make everything heavy with intel? I don't think, and then, pandemic hit. So like my play experience wasn't there to see grit. And this was like the first big event that I'd been to that grit really, really mattered. And
Right.
I think that was cool. Like
Just go ahead, Garrett.
Sorry, I was gonna say it specifically counters the two, like the Sheriff Bay, because everyone immediately throws Sheriff Bay in the middle of your pile or Sienna Reed, and then that just nullifies that problem.
I literally just this week was playing a guy, Nick, nice guy, and he was he had Dengar, and I hadn't seen Dengar in a while, and he was like move, and I was like, no, I got you locked down with Valen. He's like, no, Dengar gives grit. I'm like, oh yes, like forgotten ability, and it was really effective.
Yeah. So I've always really liked Dengar, mainly just for, giving out the counter ability and things like that. But I might start looking at him again, mainly for grit. Not for attacking. I don't know if he's ever landed like damage ever when I've used him against ships or squadrons, but like his aura is still pretty powerful.
Yeah,
So,
you can make fun combos with Dengar, right? You can do like the counter 3 or the counter 4 with Howl Runner and Sienna, and you can do fun stuff with Dengar.
Yeah, it's reopened my eyes to analyzing squadrons and what squadrons I'm picking. So
sure.
So that's kind of something that has been on my mind since going to Worlds and seeing what was there. So
is it time to? I don't usually run the schedule, but is it time to give the people what they want and talk about our draft and how bad Garrett did?
Gosh, dang. I was coming.
Yeah. I think Ken is the keeper of the draft results, correct?
I am the keeper of the draft results. So I actually ran this. I'm muted. No, I'm not.
Let's give a shout out real quick to our viewer on the YouTube link who Devil John, who was the winner of our I don't think you won anything, Devil John, other than bragging rights.
Bragging rights. That's what we're winning here too.
Yeah.
Except for Garrett.
He got I think all 3. He got 3, and then his 4th was CIS, but he got 3 of the top 8. So he did really well.
What was the CIS choice?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, whatever. Get wrecked, Devil John. You got one wrong. All right.
All right. So how do we do?
So this is how we did. When you look at overall, Ryan and John, there was one admiral that did not make the top 80. I went down to all 80 just to keep.
You said
going.
top 80? Oh, okay.
I looked through everyone that made it into Worlds. And Garrett, unfortunately, you had 2 admirals that didn't make it, and I had one. I got all 4. So I scored this out 2 different ways. So, but regardless of how it gets scored out, I won something. It feels good to occasionally win. And then John came in 2nd, Ryan 3rd, and then I'm sorry, Garrett, but
Someone's got to be last. It's okay.
Well, no one really. It was Thrawn and Admiral Tarkin that sunk. Yeah,
Ron. Gosh, dang. Points decrease. Bring him down. 20 points.
For John, he didn't get Kraken. And Ryan
to
did
be
not
fair,
get
I had a rough choice. I had the bottom of the barrel, and
you could have had Grievous. You could take Grievous.
Grievous or TF were my choices, and I'm like, honestly, I haven't seen a Grievous list do well recently, or a TF list. Because honestly, when was the last time we actually saw a TS list near the top of anything?
I thought I had it. I thought I had it in the bag. Who? What did I? Sloan. Just. No Sloan in the top 8 was shocking.
Yeah.
No, Sloan was the 12th.
Yeah. I got hosed.
So what were the final scores, or how would you,
So,
however you would like to go over it?
I did it 2 ways. The first way was wherever the admiral the highest position is, that's how many points I gave you. So, and then if an admiral didn't go in, you just got 81 points for that slot. So Lowest score is best. I did par at 72.
Nice.
And then John had 107, Ryan 116, and Garrett, I'm really sorry, it's 198.
I got dumpstered.
Yeah. And then if I did it just based on the order in which the admirals came in, it looks a little bit better. So, like Akbar got fourth, but we counted him as 3 points. So I got 34, John got 43, and Ryan got 49, and Garrett, you got 74. So,
Who did Garrett pick? Who did you have?
Garrett's picks Thrawn, Agate, Admiral Tarkin, and TF 1726.
Oof,
Yeah, the rough one there.
that's a tough.
I don't remember what order we picked, but I'm gonna blame the order.
We all
Yeah.
got an equal opportunity.
We all had a first shot at one thing, and
Yeah, so
I threw
that
that
didn't
out
do
the
it.
window because I think I chose Ozzel first, right? Was that my number one, or was Bale my number one pick?
Ozzel was your number one
I
pick.
could have
for
gone with
Empire.
I totally forgot Thrawn. I didn't even notice Thrawn wasn't even in the top 26.
Wasn't in
what's
the
up with
top
that?
80 either.
What's going on there? Yeah, like what is? Yeah, it's too expensive. Points decrease.
Well, we know Thrawn was in LCQ, and I was thinking about even going backwards and picking up another 40 for everyone, but I just did the top 80. But I mean, that was a fun little thing that we got to do. So I get a little bit of bragging rights until next Worlds.
Devil John had Bale, Radis, and JJ in
Okay.
his,
Yeah.
and so all of those were top 8, and then he missed on Martu, but he didn't really miss on Martu because they're
He had
Martu did well.
Bale, Radis.
JJ,
Yeah.
Deirdre, and
Nice.
Martu. So congratulations to Devil John.
I think Ken's trying to configure out the score to see how he
Yeah.
compares to.
I'm gonna figure that out. Yeah. Let's see, Radis is Georgeron is.
But to be fair, if I had full access to all the admirals, my picks would have been very different.
Ooh, wow, that's a good score.
That's true. We didn't have access to all the admirals, but
I know that's 38 points on the where they fit. So that's a pretty good score. But
would
yeah,
you have 39?
no, I had 72.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, at 34 when you score it differently, but then this would be a completely different score nonetheless. So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we are looking for more draft ideas. So if people have that out there, let us know in the YouTube comments.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and we'd like to do it again for drafting commanders, upgrade cards, ships, or anything that we can do.
I think we should
like
do
that.
it for each big tournament we do. I think that'd be fun. Try to.
and
Well, the
someone did
attempt.
come up to me and told me that they brought a Rebel Pelta because I said at one point that I would predict there'd be at least one.
There's
And
two. There was two.
someone brought, there was two, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were any of our other ship guesses correct? I don't know. This is.
I only
like
remember selfishly top 8 Radis
Yeah.
that I volunteered.
because I think what I said, what we weren't going to see of was any aggressor fighters, and I don't think there were any aggressive fighters. But I mean, honestly, that
I don't
was
even think IG-88 was out there.
no. Well, I would
so.
count that as an aggressive fighter.
Yeah.
Way to go out on a limb there, John.
Yeah, yeah.
Um.
A card no one's ever seen, rarely knows that it's used. I did guess correctly.
Yes. You should have said there'd be no Rebel Gauntlets. Would have been fine too.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of
that would have
unused
been a
stuff.
prediction of what would come out, and people would start questioning us again then.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Rebel Providence that I talked about, and then it appeared randomly, the next day. So,
That was
Yeah.
pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
so yeah.
I think it's tragic the lack of rebel larges in this list. No MC-75s, no home ones. The Providence didn't make it. Rebel ships need some work.
So just random. Who do you think is the best commander for the Rebel Providence? I have my opinion, and it's interesting.
For the Rebel Providence,
I've seen people do good things with Sato. Strangely enough,
I'm gonna say Agate just for the survivability of trying to get it up close. with FCTs pushing those B wings.
Yeah, I personally think, being a Sato lover and enjoyer, I think the Providence might be the best ship for Sato. And hear me out on this, okay? So you have 2 red dice on all arcs,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a native salvo, and you have the ability to add ordnance experts on it. So basically, it is like the perfect boat for running Sato, because you can 2 dice at long range out of every single arc and then convert them to black dice and then be able to re-roll them. And then you can pretty much do that on your salvo too. So you're just lobbing black dice, and if you put, can it get flat guns on it? I don't remember. It has a weird suit. I
Yeah.
think it can.
Yeah.
So then with red blue, that's 2 black dice at every shot, and if you, as soon as you get to close, then you're throwing 3 black dice salvo. That's amazing. And I mean, if you look at all the other ships Sato's okay on, they're super, super squishy. So going to a Providence isn't even, it's like the same squishy. So I want to say that the Providence is Sato's best ship.
And it's like this beat up old ship too. It's like perfect for Sato, right? He's just like trying to find ships in the space lanes somewhere. He's got this old rebel quasar looking thing. He's got this beat up Pelta, and he's got this old Providence that's speed 2.
Right. And he loves ramming things, which is all that I ever do with my Providences. So yeah, no.
The Rebel 1.
Yeah, that's kind of my fun take on nothing to do with worlds. I just think that the Providence is Sato's best ship. So if you're building a Sato list, try to fit a Providence in there and then build the rest of Larissa around it.
So next year at Adepticon Worlds 2024, when we see nothing but Sato on Providences, we'll know that it's your fault, John.
I mean, I would totally be fine with that. Like, Sato is one of my favorite commanders. So the world of Armada would be vastly different if we see a significant amount of Sato showing up. So maybe he'll be really good with the Gauntlet Fighter. We don't know. Maybe the Gauntlet Fighter is what Armada needs to make Sato great again. So
maybe so. Yeah, a little raid, or I don't know, like a little with the assault.
Yeah.
Keyword.
And whatever that ability is. Oh no, it's got as if in the title. What will the as if be?
The scariest.
Limitless possibilities.
Yeah. Okay, so do we have anything else we wanted to talk about? Oh no, we have our last section. So I'll let Ryan go ahead and introduce our last section, his favorite section.
Yeah. So what else have we been playing?
Okay. Who wants to kick it off today?
I'll start. At Adepticon, I had some friends come up from my childhood friends, and so I didn't get to kind of hang out as much as I wanted to with the community because I was hanging out with them. But I hadn't seen them in years. But we played and had a great time with playing Sequence, which is just kind of like a board game using chips. And again, once again, one of these I will get the game.
Ken probably has that on his shelf. So
it's just with cards. It's just really fun, to have some beers with and play Sequence. It's like you're playing cards and poker at the same. It's just really, really fun, easy, simple to pick up, but has a lot of depth to it. And they had a blast playing it with us, with me. So just recommend that game if you're looking for just a good beer, drinks game and with your friends.
Nice. I have not been playing anything lately. I will cheat and use what have I been reading. I'm giving the High Republic books another chance. I couldn't get into them at first, so I'm starting fresh because the Acolyte trailer looked interesting from Star Wars Celebration. I was like, okay, let's give it another go. Because I'm a diehard Legends EU fan, so.
So I have liked High Republic, but I just want to say, trying to figure out what order I need to read the books in for High Republic is freaking impossible.
It's funny you said that because that's what I've been Googling today. I'm like, what should I read first?
There's like no standard like schedule of like I read this book. It's makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I keep having to like Google like who's like the names are just not clicking with me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'll figure it out.
Did you guys ever read the old I think they're the comic books, the Old Republic comic books?
Well, Tales of
Yeah.
the Jedi, right?
Tales of the Jedi. Yeah. Man, that was the same thing in there. All those characters, I'm like, is this the same person? I don't know if this is the same person. And it's a graphic novel. I can look at them, but they have like a different helmet on in every scene. So like,
Right.
is this the same person from the last book?
You don't know who Eula Queldroma is?
Yeah, but there's someone that also has a name that's just you, and he also is like a semi-Jedi person. Like, it's like it becomes like the Lord of the Rings syndrome. Like, every character, and also like Game of Thrones, when everyone's like, oh, it's the same person, but we changed a letter. Not a letter you're gonna notice, but we changed a letter, or we added another A to their name.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Legends, current events. First off, Dave Filoni had a lot of good things to say about Legends. He's like, we need to bring these fabulous stories we had, yada yada yada, pulling from them. But the next episode of Mando, if you're a Legends fan, make sure you get in early. It's really exciting. Some cool references to the old days. So
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
I did not hear that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well,
cool
that's
references.
because usually the person that tells you all that stuff is me, and I just intentionally don't tell you spoilers.
Yeah, I've been consuming every spoiler I possibly can lately. It's like, give me them Star Wars leaks, speculation, subreddits. Give me it all.
Right.
Give me your.
I think it's funny how long they managed to keep Lars Mikkelsen from playing Thrawn quiet, like a whole 18 hours.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but technically he made a mistake like years ago in an interview.
Yeah.
And said that he was, and then he like tried to back it off and play it
That was
off.
funny. The other one that's funny is the guy who's playing Ezra. I don't know his name, but he played Aladdin.
Yes.
But anyways, every time anything happens, like his tweet from this weekend, he was like, I want to thank Lucasfilm for giving me the opportunity to play the live action hologram of Ezra. That is all. Super funny.
Oh, that is. Ken, what have you been playing?
I have been probably doing the same thing you've been doing, John. I've been playing Clean Up the Basement from all the work we did for Adepticon. I have not had a chance to get anything on the table since Adepticon. So I'm hoping to be able to probably within the next week or two. I need to play something. Yeah, but it was a lot of work. So it's a lot of cleanup to get everything put back together again. So unfortunately, I haven't been reading books either, so I can't even go there like Garrett did. So
Well, I'm audibling it. I'm just listening. Okay.
Audio
I'm
book.
cheating.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, for those of you that listen to this, what speed do you listen to podcasts on? I am very much so a speed minimum 2 podcast listener now. Almost
I-
everything. Yeah, I like, even on YouTube, I barely listen to any videos that are normal speed anymore. It drives my wife absolutely crazy because she'll walk in the room and it sounds like really, really fast. Yeah, I listen to everything on speed too.
Me too. It's really fast.
That's how my wife listens to books, and it drives me up the wall. I'm like, stop it. That's not what they're supposed to sound like. That's not the right pace.
Yeah.
I'm speed 1 all the way. I'm not here for the speed 2, speed 1.5, none of that.
I'm with you, Ryan. Occasionally I'll do 1.25 because it's someone who just naturally speaks really slow and I gotta speed it up. But yeah, no, what I do is when I listen to podcasts, I throw it on when I, in the car and I'm going to work or going to John's place. I get a lot of podcasts done when I do that. But yeah, that's I'm a ×1 kind of guy, but I'd be curious to see what most people do, because if everyone's going to start listening to us on speed ×2, then I'm going to start
Slow.
I'm gonna just start talking really, really, really fast.
It's like what I naturally do. So
Yeah.
good luck, everybody.
So everyone, sit down. I actually played a game between the last episode and this.
Oh my
So-
god.
Yes.
I
What
know.
was it? Parcheesi?
Almost.
It's okay.
So
It's
my
okay.
my family came into town. We had a both sides, like my wife's side and my family, come in, and we had a first birthday for my kid. So one of the nights we played 5 Crowns. I don't know if you've ever played that. It's kind of like a it's a set type game. Scoring is ridiculous because whatever's left in your hand at the end is like the negative type of score. So like my brother ended up winning, and he had like 30 points while most of us were in the hundreds. So it like ramps really fast. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to sit down and play like a card game, because I usually don't get the time for that. So
What a moment in podcast history that we have now. John has played something else.
I mean, it's been like 4 episodes, and like that's not even including the episodes that I wasn't here and still didn't play anything. So yeah, like in 6 months I've gotten 1 card game on the table, so it's pretty exciting. Exciting stuff. I also finally I did some painting, mainly because I just really needed a break from cleaning the basement. So I painted up the BattleTech.
Did we lose John?
Oh, I think we lost him. He's thinking about that painting. Oh no.
He's thinking about that. He's lost deep in thought.
One for me is painting the walls. It took me like a year to paint the ship shop. It was this ugly beige color. No bueno.
That actually wife's office in our house,
In
so
my-
I
in my
could probably
back?
get to doing that.
You got your
Oh,
back.
John's back.
Yeah, you're back,
Weird,
John.
because
You're
my
back.
internet didn't change, and none of my software changed, and like my control panel doesn't say anything changed. Who knows what happened? Anywho,
Cosmic interference.
right? It was the universe. This version of the universe that we're in the multiverse was just really upset that I got a game played. So,
Get ready.
so to take a break from cleaning up my basement, I painted some BattleTech stuff up. So you can check out our Discord if you want to see some pictures of that. I also played with a computer, and I have my new computer system running. And right as I was going to mention it, that's when the glitch happened. So thanks a lot. That's how life works. So yeah, so we all kind of did something. This is the first time. This is kind of exciting.
I'm just very excited, John, that you played a game. I can't get over it. So you have work to do for the next one. So
I know, and I'm like thinking, will I be able to get a game in of anything before the next one? And the answer is probably no. So might be like, this is a special episode.
People
well,
are gonna,
you just have
like,
to backlog it.
yeah.
Well, I think I discussed 2 games that I played over Christmas. So at one point. So
That should
it's
be our
just nice to
clickbait
play other
title.
games. So
Yeah, it really is. Okay.
Is that it? Is that everything?
I think that's it. Like, the continual spiral downwards has continued.
Where can we be found? Is that what's next?
Yes, it is.
Ryan, you're the expert.
all right. So we if you listen at 2 speed or 1 speed, we find us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, any of the major podcasts. If you watch us, I think at just normal speed, you can find us on the Ion Radio YouTube channel.
Those numbers are low. Pump those numbers up.
Leave us a review. Do we have any reviews?
5 stars.
We need
5
to see some
stars.
reviews. Leave us some good reviews
5
that we can read.
stars. If you listen to us at time speed 2, that's 10 stars, because it's twice as fast with the stars.
Right.
So
Make an alternate account and leave another 5 stars, and then have your wife do it, and then your kids.
yeah. Okay. So let's sign this out before it keeps going. So thank you very much for listening and/or watching to us. If you would like to join the conversation, you can join us on Discord or in the YouTube comments. Until next time, I'm John.
I'm Ken.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm Ryan.
And you've been listening to Command Stack.